Greetings. This is June 30th, and it'll probably be early afternoon when you receive this. I know a lot of people and critters out there in the woods are a little nervous about the smell of smoke in the air and the haze in the sky. We're going to take a look at Sparks Lake, the infrared, and jump over to Pavilion. First, you want to check the BC Wildfire Service One Fire system. You'll get updates on what's happening on the ground. There has been some expansion in the hectares that are involved. There is an evacuation order put into effect around Sparks Lake. There's 2,300 hectares estimated, and the fire is currently rated as out of control. There's a link on the Sparks Lake page at BC Wildfire, and that will take you to the TNRD where you can find more detailed information on the evacuation order. The Mckay Creek fire on the west side of Pavilion has expanded to 5,000 hectares. There is an evacuation alert in effect, so again, check with the Lillooet Regional District. The link is on the page. We can jump over to the FIRMS page. That's the Fire Information Resource Management System. There is some trouble getting updated data on a few of their systems, primarily the MODIS, it looks like. The VIIRS is giving good data. And if we zoom in, we can see that the infrared has expanded in both sites. There appears to be more controlled pattern signatures on the IFR. If we zoom in, we can see random detail at the bottom of the infrared, and then more controlled signatures of infrared in the northwestern quadrants of those fire zones. The shaded area in the upper left-hand side of the screen, that's where Deadman Vidette Road is, and the evacuation order is in effect. And you can see here the infrared is approaching that valley. If we jump over to Windy, we can see that the primary direction is coming from the south to the north. That's what's pushing those fire lines further north. And the winds are relatively light. It says 5 knots here. That's about 5 to 6 kilometers an hour. But those gusts in the afternoon, which should be building right now, can go up to 19 kilometers an hour. So afternoon is going to be the time of the most pressure on the fire lines. Let's head west now. We'll go over to the Mckay Creek fire. That's west of Pavilion. We can see that the infrared has moved up the hillsides, and there are some random patterns at the south end of this fire. They're in the same wind condition where wind pressure is pushing it north. The valley runs from south to the north. However, the terrain is far more rugged, and that could slow the fire approach as it gets caught up in those gulches and gullies and has a more difficult time. The fire tends to move a lot more rapidly up on the... Let's take a look at the wind conditions around Pavilion. Similar, it's moving from the southeast to the north. It's traveling about 5 kilometers an hour. Wind gusts in the early afternoon, mid-afternoon could reach 15 kilometers an hour, but then it looks favorable. The wind seems to die down quite a bit. It meanders, and there could be wind shifting, starting to come from the west and the north later on tonight and into tomorrow. So looking at the weather forecast, the wind does appear favorable. And these conditions should exist for the area around Sparks Lake as well. They're not too far away, but if we jump over to Drive BC and just take a look at the road around Fountain, you can see the terrain is very dramatic. That terrain is going to be a more difficult, hazardous job for fire crews and flight crews, but it may actually slow down the fire a bit and keep it concentrated. I'd like to take a quick jump over to the area south of Fort Nelson. There's 3 main fires out there. The terrain, of course, is different. There's very dense brush in that area, and the wind conditions are a little bit different. They're flowing from the north. So they're they're looking at a similar situation, winds around 7 to 10 kilometers an hour. However, they'll be looking at preventing it from moving further south. They may be looking at some significant gusts overnight, and precipitation looks to be rolling in. Of course, there is a lightning monitor in the links below. You want to check that, and it's pretty accurate for showing where strikes are happening, so that can be a useful resource. But as we can see from the forecast, temperatures are definitely going to get cooler, and that should be helpful. Let's go back to Dry BC and take a look at some of the imagery from the Dry BC webcams. This is Big Bar, and it is showing a lot of haze in the distance. We're looking northward. But then when we go over to the McDonald Summit Cam, very clear. It appears that the light breeze is pushing a lot of that smoke and particulate matter to the west. And we're going to turn on the lightning monitor and see what's happening out west, because I think this could come into play. We are seeing strikes off Vancouver Island and up around the Central Coast. Those are active strikes, they're real time, and they are moving in towards the mainland. There appear to be a few strikes already east of Bella Coola towards Prince George. And when we go back to Windy, we can see that weather pattern moving up from the south to the west. And the wind is also moving from the north to the west. Meanwhile, where there is a concentration of strikes offshore, that is moving inland. So if I can make a prediction, I think that's where we'll see most of the lightning strikes, is west of Hansville, south of Anaheim, and east of Bella Coola, in this region where most of that air mass is being concentrated. Of course, you want to check with BC Wildfire and check the firm's site. The links are below. And if you can, bookmark that lightning monitor. I find it reasonably useful in combination with Windy. And just be prepared. Make sure that you know what routes you're going to take. Make sure that your neighbors are okay. And it's a teamwork effort. I'd like to thank the wildfire fighters out there and the flight crews doing an awesome job, plus all the support people that are helping them out. Take care, everybody, and keep your nose to the breeze.